Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Kamay Peruano Comercio Exterior. Welcome to our daily lectures. I know this is an unusual schedule for your English classes, but here we are. I apologize for the inconvenience. There was some minor technical difficulties a couple of days back, and today there was a health issue that had to be taken care of. Luckily, we're all fine. I hope everyone is fine as well. We're almost the end of the year. This is going to be our last English session in this cycle, and we're going to begin a new cycle on Monday, December the 28th. Okay, so I want to thank you for accompanying us, not only the English classes, but all the other lectures that CAMEX is giving. Okay, so first of all, please take a lot of care, be very careful. COVID is still among us, and especially now that more people are, I know economy is important, but more people are going out, and the possibility of getting sick or infected is increasing. So please take a lot of care whenever you go out. Take all the necessary precautions. Wear protection. Um, wear your masks. Wear your face masks. Wear your protection suits if necessary, and just be careful in general. The holidays are coming. We want to be with our families. We want to celebrate with them Christmas and maybe New Year's, but we need to be careful. Maybe if we need to um, avoid visiting them this time, maybe it will make up. We can make up as the months go by, and maybe we can get together soon again. Okay. So with that being said, today we're going to talk about the last topic, which is CV or resume and job interviews. Okay, I'm just going to make a difference between what is a CV and what is a resume, and also some tips for your job interviews. You know that will be helpful for whenever you attend for a new job, or maybe you apply here or you apply outside abroad. My name is Carlos Martinez Flores. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I'm a former team leader at Pacifico University, CDUP, and currently I am an EFL teacher at Mate Purisima School in Miraflores here in Lima. Okay, so let's begin. What is the difference between a CV and a resume? Okay, is it the same or not? Okay, sometimes students don't know. Um, Sometimes we don't know if it's the same, whether or not we need when to apply with the CV, when to apply with the resume. Is one better than the other, or like I said, are they the same? And actually, they're not the same. Okay, actually, they're not the same. First of all, a resume tends to be shorter than a CV. Okay, as you can see, a resume is a 1-2 page document presenting key facts about your professional experience, educational background, and skills. Whereas a CV or curriculum vitae is a longer document that details the whole course of your career. A resume is used for job search, whereas a CV is normally used for academic purposes. I think that in Peru, the story of getting a job um, has changed. The history of the CVs and resumes has evolved. I think I am 44 years old, but when we were younger, um, practically everybody was making CVs because that was what the trend was, right? But nowadays, as companies have modernized, as more foreign companies have started to enter our country, I think it's time to migrate from the CV to a resume. Okay, so but still, some companies still ask for CVs, so we might as well just know how to prepare them. Okay. So what is a CV? A CV, which is curriculum vitae, is an in-depth document which describes the whole course of your career. I mean, no, since the beginning to the end. It's usually 2 or 3 pages long, but can just be as well be laid out over 10 pages or more, because sometimes here in Peru they ask for documented CVs, and CVs are very extensive. A curriculum vitae contains details about your education, your professional career, your publications, your awards, honors, any other achievements. Okay. In the U.S. and Canada, a CV is only used for academic applications. So now, if so think about that. If you ever want to apply for a job or a position in the US or Canada, a CV, unless you're applying to university, unless you're applying to somewhere where studies are going to be held, then a CV is not your choice of option. Okay, you should go for a resume. Okay, so remember that in the US and Canada, CV is only used for academic applications such as academic jobs, grants, which is like, when you're going to get paid to do something, research, etc. A resume, okay, resume. A resume, which comes from the French word to sum up, is a short, concise document used for job applications in the US and Canada. So if you want to apply for a job in the US and Canada, in some parts of Europe too, you should go for a resume, okay? The purpose of a resume is to provide recruiters with a brief overview of your candidate work history. You want to tell the recruiter or the job about your job, your work history. A good resume should be targeted at a specific job and should be 1 or 2 pages long. I know it is weird for us Peruvians because, like I said, we were normally accustomed to CVs. Although I've been working as a coordinator for a while and an intern coordinator for a few months this year, and I've been able to see how resumes have evolved, so CVs, because now out of 10 people who apply for a job, 2 or 3 present a typical CV with all your information, whereas most only show you 1 or 2 pages of their resume. Very quick specifications about their job, their prior jobs or experiences. Okay, so for example, this is how I've chose this picture, although it says X, like if it were wrong. This is just to indicate that a resume normally starts with a front page like this. This will be the front page of a CV, okay? The one with the X will be a front page of a CV, okay, a curriculum vitae. And this one on the right is a resume. Normally, this is the only page that the recruiters or your work will receive. Sometimes there's one more page, but it follows the same pattern, okay? Whereas a CV will have similar pages like this, but like we mentioned before, sometimes up to 10 or more, depending on how much information you are sending to your work or to your university where you're applying for the academic position. Okay, very good. Let's continue. Remember that I followed most of all of your questions here through Zoom and also through Facebook. Okay, so if you want to ask me any questions, I will gladly answer your questions through Facebook, where I can follow your questions and your comments. Good afternoon, Elizabeth. Okay, I can follow your questions, and you see I can follow to the chat. So I'll be able to answer your questions or any doubts that you might have through Zoom or through Facebook. Okay. So let's continue. And I apologize if I take sometimes a little bit to answer through Facebook, but like I said once, I don't know why, but I tend to get the comments or the questions through Facebook with a little bit of a delay. Okay, so normally I answer them as soon as I receive them. Let's continue. Now, CV versus resume. Okay, as you can see here and bold, resume is competency based. That means on what if you're competitive or not in certain areas, whereas a curriculum is credential based. Your documents. It's more documented. It's more about what credentials do you have, what awards, what certificates, what diplomas. I mean, all that you have. Okay, whereas in a resume, it's more about what can you do. Okay, these diplomas and these awards are great, but I need to know what are you capable. I mean, what can you do? What are you good at? Okay. Most resumes in the United States are competency-based. They are personal marketing documents intended to showcase your skills, your achievements, and work experience to the greatest advantage. Okay, so you want to show, it's like I said, it's a marketing document. You are selling yourself, okay? What are your best skills? What are your best achievements? Your best experiences? Why would you be a great asset for this job? Okay, whereas a CV is more, like I said, it's more credential based. It's more for jobs in science, in research and investigations. Okay, because here we need to show, okay, where did I study? What certifications do I have? What education do I have? What diplomas? My prior investigations. Where do I belong to? If I have dictated a course, all these things that have to do with academic things. Okay, that is more like a CV. like I said, CVs are not, I'm not going to say that CVs are not used in the United States and Canada and parts of Europe. They are, but they are used for other purposes, okay? They're used more for investigation purposes, whereas a resume is mostly used for work purposes, okay? And the difference in a nutshell, okay, this is an expression. The expression in a nutshell means, in a very quick way. Yes, don't worry. I'm going to show like the different parts of a resume and the different parts of a CV. The difference between a CV and a resume lies in the length, the layout, and the purpose of these documents. CVs have no length limit. Okay, CVs have no length limit. Resumes are typically 1 or 2 pages long. A CV details the whole course of the candidate's academic career, and a resume summarizes skills and work experience. Okay, so now I'm going to start. We're going to start with CV, and we're going to finish with the resume. Okay, and we're going to, at the end, we're going to point out some quick tips for your interviews. CVs, there are two types of CVs. One says which is skill focused and which is work focused. Skill focused is used for career changers, school leavers, or people who with gaps in work history. Okay, again, we can still use CVs for work. Okay, useful for showcasing work experience and for people progressing to the next stage in their career. Again, like I said, in Peru, we still use CVs for work. It's not incorrect, but I mean, resumes are the better option. Okay. Now, what you need to do is you need to make your CV easy to read. Recruiters take about 15 to 20 seconds to scan your CV the first time. If you make a good expression, then they'll read all your CV more closely, okay? To make your CV look good, you should always use black easy to read font in one size. I mean, normally it's like times, I think it's Arial or Times New Roman, which are just, very formal fonts. Okay, use short sentences and break up in blocks of text. Okay, use bullet points to list information and keep the tone formal. Key formal. Okay, that's why, and it also goes for the fonts. Don't use like these Walt Disney fonts, because I've seen CVs where they use these like Walt Disney fonts because they think it looks nicer. No, they should keep it formal. Times New Roman area, Arial, or I mean, even Calibri is possible, but that's still in the informal side. Okay, so keep it very serious. Avoid abbreviations, slang, or jargon. Okay, slang or jargon is the same. Don't use expressions that are too informal because, again, like I said, CV is normally a very formal document. Avoid photos or images and have strong headings and lots of white space. Keep your CV to 2 pages. Okay. Save your CV as a Word document and label it with your name, the application date, and job you're applying for. This is what you normally do when you are using your CV for a job. Like I said, keep your CV to, if you can keep it in 2 pages, okay. But again, CVs have no page limit. These are just suggestions, okay? These are just suggestions. You can have CVs, like I said, 10 pages and more. It totally depends. Remember, when I say 10 pages, I'm not saying 10 pages of information, because 10 pages is because what we call the documented CVs, right? Where you collocate your history, your experience, and then you add or you attach your diplomas and all the documents that certify what you're saying in your CV, right? So this is what a resume. No, a resume, you don't send any of that. Okay, so normally save your CV as a Word document and label it with your name, the application date, and the job you're applying for. That way it'll be easier for you first to find and then to send. Now, what to put in your CV? A CV must include your name, your contact detail. Normally it's your address, your cell phone, your email, your personal email, work email. Technical and personal skills, work and community and volunteer experience, qualifications and education, referees. You can include referees or not. The referees are available on Quest. It means people who can credit what you're saying, right? That it is true. Okay, you can include them or not. Sometimes you can include them at the beginning. Sometimes you can include them at the end. Normally in Peru, we collocate them at the end. Normally we collocate 1 or 2 of our prior bosses, or maybe whoever is our boss right now. What else? This is what I mentioned before, right? CV can also include an objective, any personal statements, achievements, interests, job-specific information. For example, a teacher would put that. A teacher would put their teaching philosophy in their CV, for example. If you're a teacher, you will collocate this in your CV. Okay, but basically, this is the main. You should include this, right? A CV can also include the objective. Normally, this goes after your personal information, right? What is your purpose at the job, and what do you want to do at the job? What do you want to bring to the job? Interests, achievements, all of this will go in your CV. Okay, what not to put in your CV? You should not collocate photos of images, like I said before. You shouldn't collocate colored or fancy fonts, like I said. Just keep it serious. Your date of birth or age. Okay, normally that is not collocated in your CV unless sometimes in Peru we collocate it, but your age, no. Date of birth, yeah, maybe yes. Your marital status, religion, or background. Okay, all of this again, it's not necessary. Too much text and bad spelling. Be careful with your spelling. Always review what you're writing. Always double check it, because you might be a great professional, but if you send the CV which has bad spelling, then that would be the case of you will be rejected because of that, because nobody wants a professional who can't spell correctly. A funny or rude email address. Okay, please. I know this sounds obvious, but be careful, because if you are a person my age, which is 44, in their 40s, I know all of us have started, well, even the young people, when we start out with our first email. Hello, how are you, Melissa? Normally, we we tend to create our first emails, normally a funny one or one that we remember. But as we grow up and become professionals, we should change our emails into one that is serious. Normally your name or your last name, a combination of your name and last name. Work experience and interests that are not relevant for the job. Okay, so for example, maybe you have worked. For example, I worked when I was younger. I worked at a McDonald's. But if I'm applying to be a coordinator, that has nothing to do with the coordination position, so I shouldn't even include it, even though it's part of my work. Okay, so any job that is not relevant for whatever you're applying to should not be included. Okay, and lying about your experiences and skills. Okay, I know that there's a saying that paper can support or paper can withstand anything, but remember that even though they are not legal documents, a CV says what you're capable of doing, okay, or courses that you have gone to. So if I am a recruiter and I read this, I assume it is true. And if I hire you or I interview you, I'm going to ask you to prove this. And if you can't, then I will verify that you're lying and I'll just go to the next option, okay? So never lie, never lie. Okay, so in detail, name and contact details, your first and last name. It should be in large and bold text, postal address, including your area code, phone number, email address. Optional, your job hunting profile link. For example, if you have a profile in LinkedIn or Behance, your professional website or your YouTube channel link, if you have it. It's not necessary, but only if you have it. Make sure your email address is working appropriately, okay, and is work appropriate. Like I mentioned before, make sure that that it's a serious email. Don't be sending any emails that are like funny emails or like these emails that we have from friends. Your phone voicemail message only gives your name as a request to leave a message. Okay, even though in Peru all of us have phone mails, voicemails in our cell phones, we don't use it that much. Okay, but if we know that we are very busy and that we normally there's going to be a chance that we won't be able to answer the phone, and maybe you're applying for something that is important, then I recommend that you activate your voicemail and you leave your personal message. Hello, this is Carlos Martinez. I can't attend you right now. Please leave your message. Okay, that way the person who's calling knows that okay, so this is the person I'm calling. In Peru, this is not too much of a custom, but if you go to the US or Canada or Europe, voicemail is very, very important. I mean, you can just see it in the movies, right? Whenever, I mean, people, they get home and the first thing they check is their voicemail. You know, what messages do they have? Okay, so make sure you, if you know that this is a possibility, keep your voicemail updated with your information and make it personal. Objective and personal statement. An objective gives brief details about the type of work and role you would like and the industry that you want to work in. A personal statement gives the employer an idea of who you are in 3 or 4 sentences. Okay, like I said, your objective is okay, what you want to bring to the company. I mean, what can you do, and how, what would be, how could you how would you add to the company? And the friends and the personal statement is who you are. Okay, try to describe yourself in 3 or 4 sentences. Again, remember, all the information here needs to be in tune with what you are, what you, to the job you're applying to, right? It needs to be in tune with with the position that you're applying for. Okay, next, you can also include what you're currently doing for employment or education, what attracted you to the job that you're applying for, and this is in the part of the objective and personal statement. The 3 reasons why you're applying for this job and your career goals. Okay, so this is information that could be in your personal statement. Okay, what you're currently doing right now, what attracted you to the job you're applying for, your reasons for applying for this job, and your career goals. Skills. The skills that you put in your CV should be the same skills listed in the job advertisement. Like I mentioned before, everything you're going to collocate in your CV needs to be related to the position you're applying for. If you have other skills, for example, that don't meet the criteria or have nothing to do with the job you're applying for, whether or not you have them, that is not relevant right now. You shouldn't just collocate them. Only collocate the ones that are relevant for the position that you're applying for. Don't invent still, okay? Technical skills. Include a technical skills section in your CV to list such skills as driver's license, languages, computer programs, okay? Things that you can do. These are your skills. Your work history and volunteer experience. Okay, list your most recent jobs or work and volunteer experiences first. Okay, always in Peru. Sometimes we had I mean, this is all because of the trends. Okay, in the past we made a CV. We started our education. We started primary, secondary, high school, university, and we finished with our latest job education activity. Now it's the opposite. We should always start with our most recent and most important one, whether it's for jobs, whether it's for education, whether it's for experience. And we should always start with our latest and most important one, okay? Because yes, your recruiter might continue reading if he or she thinks that you are an interesting candidate. But if you, for example, let's say he or she is not so sure that you are an interesting candidate, and he starts reading, and he doesn't have enough time to read everything because he has to read a dozen more CVs or resumes, and the first thing he sees is primary, this school. I mean, I'm not going to waste time going through all this guys or women's information. I'll just pass it and go to the next. But if he reads that you are maybe last year you finished a master's degree or a doctorate degree at some university, or maybe currently you are a coordinator or administrator at a certain company, then he might feel curious to know the rest. So he will continue until the end, but not the opposite. Okay, so always start with the most important, always start with the most relevant. Okay, because that is what's going to make yourself be hired. I'm sorry. Beneath this, list the tasks you performed. Also list any achievements. If you change jobs in the same organization, include both in the titles. You don't need to list all your work history. Remember, even though CVs are longer than resumes, you don't want to send the Bible, because the CV part, this part is the first 1, 2, or 3 pages, because then, like I said, the rest of the 12 or 10 pages is going to be the documentation. Okay, so try to keep it as short as possible. Qualifications. List your qualifications, education in the qualification section of your CV. You can include NCEA levels or schooling qualifications. I mean, in Peru, we will use your qualifications at school. University, for example, what you studied, where you studied, if you have gone to any diplomats, or he's taking some master's degrees or doctors, or anything that here is anything you have studied, anything you have accomplished where you went to, what diplomas you have, what degrees you have, your bachelor's degree, your doctorate degree, your MBAs, your bachelor's degrees, and any kind of degree that you have. Okay, this will be in your, this will go in your qualifications area. Okay, micro credentials to short work related courses, trainings. Yes, Elizabeth, it's always it's always relevant, or it's always important to start with the last education. Okay, for example, currently right now I am studying a master's degree at a university in Mexico. Okay, so this will be my last this will be the first thing they read in my education section. But a few months back, I finished a diplomat course in the same university. So although my master's degree course is still not finished, I'm going to collocate first that I finished my diploma course. Okay, so that, because this is the most recent. Okay, in February, when I finish my master's degree, then I will collocate that first. Okay, so always collocate the last thing or the most recent thing that you're doing, either currently or finished recently. Okay, because again, this is what's going to, if I am the recruiter and I read, okay, I'm looking for somebody that has a diploma in, let's say, leadership. Okay, oh, this person has a diploma in leadership. Good. Let's see, what else does he or she have? Okay, so I will continue reading. But if I'm going to start with, like I said, my secondary studies or my primary studies, I have to read so many more resumes or CVs that I'm just going to let that go by. Okay, so always start with your latest educational background. Format of qualification section. Okay, list the newest or most relevant qualification first. Okay, like I was saying, the newest or most relevant. This is to answer your question, Elizabeth. Okay, always start with the most current thing that you are studying or that you have accomplished. Always. Okay, because like I said, recruiters are just going to go. Recruiters are just going to go through the first part of your CV. They're going to read the rest if they're interested, but that doesn't mean that they will at the beginning. Okay. Achievements. Okay, include all the all the achievements you have, all the achievements. Okay, if you have important achievements that aren't covered in the skills or work history sections. Okay, if you haven't mentioned them before, for example, maybe if you manage to get a certain diploma, a certain prize, a certain recognition in your job, or a promotion. Okay, you can collocate it in this part here, right? um, any achievement that you had that you didn't mention before. Okay, don't be repetitive either. Interest. If you want to collocate interest, even though this is not mandatory, this is optional, but if you want to collocate interest, including your interest in your CV is optional. If you do, make sure you include interest that shows skills that employers are looking, such as leadership skills. Okay, avoid common interests such as watching TV or going. I mean, it sounds funny that I wrote it there. It sounds funny that I'm telling it to you, but it doesn't sound funny when you, because I've seen it. Okay, I've seen people write that they, I mean, if you, when they include interest, they doing sports and, painting. Honestly, once you see that, just say next. Okay, not because having these interests are bad, but because they have nothing to do with the document, first of all. Okay, so just because of that, you just exclude. Okay, so it's optional, but don't, I mean, if you're not going to collocate things like reading books, then no, just avoid it. And when referees talk to the employers about your skills. These are the people that the company is going, they're going to call to ask them about you. Okay, a former employer, a sports coach, a teacher, or somebody that respected in your community. Okay, one of the referees should be your current manager, because they always want to know. They always want to know. No, Elizabeth, it's not bad. It's not bad. Just remember that if you write your interests, you should write interests that are relevant for their employer. For example, your interest could be you have interest in leadership, like it says, for example, here. I have an interest in leadership. That's why I take all these courses. I have an interest in, let's say, computer skills. Maybe I have an interest in social in community managing, for example. Okay, so things that might be relevant for the company. Okay, that doesn't say That doesn't say that you shouldn't. You just have to make sure what you collocate, right? Referees, again, okay, going back to referees, one of the referees should always be your current manager. Why? Because they're going to ask him or her why, if you could be a good asset for the job. Okay, and so it's always good. I mean, but now here comes the big however. If you're going to include your current manager and for some reason you have had problems or you and your current manager don't get along so well, then you might have to think about it and collocate maybe somebody else. Okay, because remember that they're going to call this person and ask for them. They're going to tell them, hi, we're from this company and this person is applying for our administrative position. Can you tell us a little bit about him or her? And they're going to tell, you never know what he or she might say. So just be careful with that. But if you can include your current manager or team leader, supervisor, will be good because that will speak a lot to your new employer. Now, referee contact details should include their, okay, what should you include? Occur their names, their titles, where they work, their phone number, and their email address. Okay, this is for your referees. So, for example, you would say first or last names. You would say Juan Perez, job title, coordinator, organization. Let's say a certain school, right? The phone number and the email address, so they will be able to contact him or her. Now, this will be what has to do with CVs. Okay, now resumes are shorter, and that's why we're going to speak to them right now. A resume has 5 essential parts. The 5 most important parts of a resume are your contact information, your resume introduction, your experience, your skills, and your education. Okay, this is the standard outline in any for any job seeker. We're going to break down. We're going to now talk about them in detail. Okay. So the first part, like I said, was your contact information. Okay, your contact information should belongs at the top of your resume header and should help hiring managers quickly understand who you are and how to reach you. Okay, so in your contact information, you should collocate your first and last name, your email, your phone number, your mailing address, if you want, and your LinkedIn user, optional. I know that I don't know if many people have LinkedIn accounts, but nowadays everything has to do with social media, and LinkedIn is a good social media for professionals, right? Now, next, your resume introduction. Your resume introduction is your elevator pitch. That means an elevator pitch is an expression that is mostly used in marketing. For those of you who study marketing, they say that one of the biggest tests or the biggest skills that a marketeer or a seller has is their elevator pitch. That means if you enter with somebody into an elevator and by the time they leave the elevator, you should have convinced them of buying your product or you have convinced them that your product is good. Okay, this is what is called an elevator pitch. So here they're making an analogy that your resume introduction is your elevator pitch. Okay, this should sell you. This should convince the person that you are the best person for this job. This resume component is a short section at the top of your resume that summarizes your key qualifications and tells the hiring manager how your goals align with theirs. Okay. We need to make sure, or you need to make sure that whatever you're proposing aligns with what the company wants. So the 4 types of resume introductions. Okay. We have these. A resume summary, okay? A resume summary is a solid introduction for all job seekers, particularly those with some previous work experience. It serves as a highlight reel of your career by showcasing your notable accomplishments, okay? So it's a summary of your resume, very simple, okay? It's a summary of your resume. The next, it can be a resume objective, okay? Works best for entry-level candidates and those targeting a specific position. Okay, so remember, if you want to target a specific position, you're going to write your objectives. It shows how you would use your skills, experience, and training to help the company achieve goals. Okay, remember that these are what we said here, your resume's introductions. Okay. So the first one was a summary, which was everything, a summary of you and who you are. The next is your purpose, your objective, why you're applying, why you will be the best. Your next will be the resume profile. A resume profile provides a general overview of your career, okay? And is a good choice for job seekers who are not focused on a particular position. It highlights skills that are valuable in your industry and your biggest wins are at work so far. Notice the first one, the resume summary, is a solid introduction for all job seekers, particularly those with previous work experience. Second one, an objective. The objective one is when you want to work, you are applying for a specific position. You want this, you want this position, you want this one. Here, profile, here you're not, I mean, you're just applying for a job at this company. Maybe there are many openings and you just want to apply for one of them, but you still want to say that you are important, okay? And the last one is your qualification summary. This is used by experienced professionals. This is the one that's used when you want to, normally you use bullet points, okay? Normally you use you use one bullet point for each for each um, for each goal that you have had, okay? Um, you want to, bullet points. Remember, as I have mentioned before, bullet points are very good when you prepare an email, when you prepare documents, because they highlight important information, okay? And it places your best achievements front and center, helps make your resume ATS friendly. What is ATS friendly? Most like nowadays most of us apply for jobs through the internet, Peru Boomerang and all, Indeed and all these pages. All of these have what is called an ATS system. What is an ATS system? These are the first letters of the word applicant tracking system. What does this mean? That the computers, they filter the CVs, okay? So or programs filter your CVs by reading through your these bullet points, okay? So if they see these bullet points, they're going to stop and they're going to review the bullet points, and they might make a decision based on the bullet points. Sometimes if you use the other three, the ATS system might just go through them, or might not. It depends. So that's why most people recommend that you have a qualification summary, because it says, okay, the first bullet point, this is what I've done. Next experience, next. So if you have the luck or bad luck, it depends. I don't know. Of the company that you're applying a job for that uses an ATS system, then you will have the possibility of maybe getting a job. Okay, very good. Let's continue. We said number 3, experience. Work experience is one of the most essential parts of your resume. It typically makes up the bulk of the content. That means the big part of your CV, okay? Your experience section should include the following information: your employer, company name, the location where it is, the date when you were employed, and 3 or 5 bullet points describing your responsibilities and accomplishments. Bullet points. Remember, key things, bullet points. So the last place we worked at, the name, the place, the time that you worked there, and from when until when, and 3 or 5 bullet points describing your responsibilities and accomplishments. Okay, what you did and what were your responsibilities and things that you accomplished. Make sure each bullet point in your experience section begins with an action verb. Action verb. Okay, this is English. This is pure English. Okay, got, started, began, consolidated. And put as many numbers and statistics in this part of your resume as you can. This helps give employers a real life reference of your professional accomplishments and what you can achieve with their company. Okay, so you need, for example, if you were a manager, you have to list the accomplishments, first your responsibilities, and then no, try to use action verbs, okay, not state verbs, okay, because remember, again, this is a recommendation. I'm not going to say that if you collocate a state, it's going to be bad, but always try to use action verbs to begin with. For example, you're going to describe your responsibilities. Point number one: review or no, supervise the teachers. Okay. Second, control the lesson plans. For example, if you're a teacher. Okay. Now, achievements. First bullet point. Um, got the first prize in this competition. Now, another bullet point. Managed to create, managed to associate with the British Council to be able to give certain diplomas. Okay. So always try to use action verbs. Okay. Again, this helps employers get real life reference of your professional accomplishment. Okay, so remember, the experience part is the most important part of your CV and the biggest part also. Okay. Next, here comes number 4 is the skills. The skills section of your resume is an important part of your application, regardless of how much experience you have. Notice, okay, we're talking about skills, not how long you have had this skill. Two different things, okay? To write a strong skills section, list your most remarkable abilities and include a mix of both hard skills and soft skills. To show employers that you're a dynamic candidate. Hard skills, are things that you learn. To use computers, to create things. Soft skills is to work with people, good communicator. Okay, well, you should know what the difference between soft skills and hard skills. But remember, it's not how much time you have been doing this, not the experience, it's what you have, okay? So you're going to write all the skills that you have between hard skills and soft skills, because nowadays it is very important for companies to know that their candidates have good soft skills, okay? Because people work with people, not with computers. So soft skills are very, really relevant. Additionally, make sure you tailor this part of your resume to the position you want to fill. Like I said before, this is similar to the CV. All the skills that you're going to collocate here need to be relevant to the place that you're applying to. Okay, if you're applying to, let's say, a bank, then all the skills that you have related to economy, to accounting, to managing, will be relevant here. If you're applying to a school, all the skills that you have relevant to teaching students, to working with people, to talking with parents, etc. All these skills will go here, okay? So the skills will depend on what you're applying to. And then finally, your education. The level of detail added to your resume education section can be varied based on how much experience you have and the level of education. Now, your education, like we mentioned before, always start with a strong education, the latest and most important education that you have had. Okay. So here you write your school name, where you went to, the degree you had, and your graduation. Okay. Now you can also include your GPA in your resume. This is for if you apply for work in schools, or if you want to work in the USA or Canada, because here this is important. Okay, the GPA would be your average, the average score that you get in school education, right? If it's over 3.5, it helps demonstrate how responsible you are, right? But again, here in Peru, it's not so important. But again, it helps for some countries, right? Like we said, a GPA it's most for let's say the US or Canada, not necessarily here. Okay. For example, if you have gone to an IB school, maybe you have a GPA. The IB schools manage GPAs. Okay. GPA is an abbreviation for grade point average, and it's a number that indicates how well or how high you scored in your school. Okay, so like I said, if you have gone, this will be applicable for people who have gone to IB schools, for example. For those of us who have not gone to an IB, me included, this number might not exist. But if you have it, include it. Okay, very good. Now this was all relevant. This was all that was relevant to a resume. Notice how it's shorter. Again, 1 or 2 pages. 1 or 2 pages long, okay? And like I said, and like I mentioned way at the beginning, one page, a normal resume will have 1 page. Okay, we'll have 1 page, maybe 2. CVs, I mean, a short resume will have 2 or 3. Notice the difference, okay? I long resume will have 2 pages. A short resume will have, a short CV will have 2 or 3, okay? So notice the difference, okay? Now, to finish is the last part of an interview. I hope the information that I give you about CVs and resumes helps. Remember that in Peru, both are accepted. Both are accepted. But if you travel abroad, the U.S., if you're applying for a job, use resumes. Europe, use resumes. Okay. Parts of Asia, CVs are accepted. Okay. But Peru, both. So far, both. Okay. But of course, you have to notice the difference that a resume is quicker, it's more agile, it's more, a resume just tells you the most important things, whereas a CV, it's a little bit longer. It still tells you everything, but it's more detailed, okay? So it depends on what you're applying to. Resumes will help. Sometimes they ask you for your resume, and then if you pass the first stages of the job process, of the work, the selection process, they will ask you for your CV. So then you have to send with all the documents, right? Normally it could happen here in Peru at least. Now, interview tips that will help you get hired. First, practice and prepare. Okay, develop a connection with your interviewer, and this can be done by preparing. Because, for example, if you want to apply for, let's say, a company, let's say a bank, BCP, and once you're in with your interviewer, you can start to, hey, how long have you worked? How long have you been working here? What is the working environment in BCP? Do you like working at BCP? So you will start creating a connection with the person, right? But this only depends if you have practiced and prepared before. Okay, number 3, research the company and show what you know. Okay, so it's always important to investigate the company you're going to work for, when it started, when it was created, what does it do, how many branches does it have, etc., etc. It's always good to know all these things. Get ready ahead of time. Remember, forget about Peruvian time, okay? Cabana time, even worse. We need to go to London time, okay? If your appointment is at 10 a.m., if you're there at 10 a.m., you're late. If you're there at 5 to 10, you are a little bit late. You should be there 10 to 15 minutes before, half an hour, even better. Okay, but what does that mean? What does that mean? That if you're going to have an interview early, then the day before, prepare your clothes, prepare everything you're going to wear or to use, to avoid wasting time. Sometimes it's a good idea, and I've done it before. For example, if I don't have a car and I need to use public transportation, and I need to go to a company that is, for example, Adventure Rios, and I have to go to a company that is in, let's say, San Borja, then I will take the public transportation the day before to see how long it takes for me to get to that place. Or if I have my own car, how long it takes for me to drive to that place. If I'm going to take a taxi, how long it's going to take me. That way I can calculate it. So if I know that it takes normally, using the bus, it takes me half an hour to get there, then I know I can't leave half an hour, because what if there's traffic? What if something happens? I need to leave for at least 45 minutes before. So it's always good, it's always ready to take into account the time. Okay. Again, be in on time, and that means before. Okay, don't. Oh, I'm here at noon because my interview was at noon. No, I'm here at 11:30 or 11:45, but my meeting is at noon. Okay, it is taking into account. Stay calm. I mean, always take, if you're going to get nervous, they say that people are going to notice it, because you're going to start sweating, and you're going to start feeling bad, nervous. Okay, follow up after the interview. This means that, okay, if you have the recruiter's email, you can say, thank you for the opportunity. I hope to hear from you soon. Okay, but this seven tip, it depends. It depends on on some certain things. If you have the email of the person that interviewed you, great. Okay, now here I'm going to go through these things because very quickly, because we have little time. But these are some common questions that they might ask you. Okay, for example, they might ask you, tell me about yourself. Okay, typical interview question. Okay, tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? What are your greatest strengths? What do you consider to be your weaknesses? Okay, everybody has a weakness. Like I said, even Superman had a weakness. and his weakness was kryptonite. Okay, so it's not bad to have weaknesses, but what is bad is not to do anything about that weakness. Okay, so here are some tips about what you will expect to answer on these questions. For example, tell me about yourself. This question is simple. Many people fail to prepare for it, but it is crucial. Here the deal: don't give your complete employment history. Okay, instead give a pitch. Okay, very quick summary, one that is concise and compelling, and that shows exactly why you were right fit for the job. Okay, so basically why you will work properly here. Why should we hire you? It looks similar to the first question, but again, the interview question seems forward, not to mention intimidating, but if you're asked, you're in luck. There's no better setup for you to sell yourself and your skills for hiring to the hiring manager, okay? So why should we hire you? Because I am the best, because I'm the greatest, because I do this very good, because normally, okay, so sell yourself, okay? So there's a very good question. What are your greatest strengths, okay? Here's an opening to talk about something that makes you great, okay? So think about, so always think priorly, okay? If they ask me what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? Always think about them because they might ask you, and they're not the questions. On the contrary, it's if you're honest, that I would say that what would you consider to be your weaknesses are even better, because again, if you can recognize weaknesses, that means that you can work on them. If you can't recognize weaknesses, then maybe you don't even know what to work on. Okay, so here, I mean, remember that all this material is available for you, so you can download the information that you would like to answer in each of these, for each of these questions, okay? What do you consider your greatest strengths, your greatest strengths, and what do you consider to be your weaknesses, okay? In this question, what your interviewer is really trying to do with this question, beyond identifying any major red flags, is to go at your self-awareness and honesty, you see? Again, honesty is very important, okay? So I can meet a deadline to save my life is not an option. Okay, please. Okay, don't go that far. Don't take it that way. Okay, and you shouldn't stay. You shouldn't either say I'm not perfect. Maybe you can say, normally I think that I struggle um, with my with my control of work of PowerPoint, but I'm working on it. I'm taking courses. Okay, don't just say, oh, one of my weaknesses. Oh, that's because I never pay my bills. No, don't go that far. Okay, please. Okay, please read, download the documents and read them, please. Okay. And here are some other common questions that they might ask. Tell me about a time you made a mistake. Very important. They always ask you this, the same as the time you fail, which is different. One is to make a mistake and one is to fail. Make a mistake is a common error. To fail is when you had an appointment and you didn't meet them. You didn't meet the deadlines or whatever. Okay. How would your boss and co-workers describe you? How do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay. So again, all this material is available for you and that you can download and see. For example, in the question, tell me about a time you made a mistake. Normally, you're probably not too eager to dig into the past, but talking about a mistake and winning someone over are mutually exclusive. Okay. So if you make a mistake and you recognize a mistake, okay, the key is to be honest without placing blame on other people. Recognize the mistake that you made, okay? At the end of the day, employers are looking for folks who are self-aware. Again, this goes back to the first one. If you are honest and you recognize things, okay? Tell about something you failed, the same. It's important to show that you took something from experience, okay? I failed, but I never did it again because I recognized my mistake and I was able to overcome it, okay? The next would be the one, how would your boss and coworkers describe you? Again, always be honest, okay? You remember that being honest will gain things more than lying, okay? Try to put out your strengths and traits you haven't discussed in other aspects, such as your strong work ethic or your willingness to pitch in for other projects when you need. I mean, I think you can say people will say good things about me because I tend to be a team player, etc., etc. Yeah. And how do you see yourself in 5 years? This question is important because nobody wants somebody who doesn't want to prosper or to advance, right? People want to know if you have a progressive mind, okay, if you want to be better. And everybody, who doesn't want to have a person who's going to help them win? Who doesn't want to have somebody who's going to help them be a better company, okay? But if I have someone that says, I think I have nothing else to accomplish, I think I'm fine, then I mean you have no dreams, you have no ambition, so sometimes that's not so good, okay? It's okay to say that you're not quite sure what the future holds, but that you see this experience playing an important role in helping you make your decision. Okay. So again, these are some questions that will have that. These are some answers that could help you go through. Um, these are some common questions that they ask you in an interview. Okay, and it's important to know to how to answer them. They're not bad. Don't be afraid. Okay. So thank you for your time. I hope I was able to answer many of your questions. Thank you for the people who participated in Facebook. I appreciate it. Okay. I will be back with you guys on Monday, December the 28th, and we're going to start a new set of classes. First of all, these are going to be more communication based. Okay, the topic is going to be traveling. Okay, the topic of our new of this first lectures is going to be traveling. So I hope everybody. I won't see you until after Christmas. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for your participation. I hope everyone has a great Christmas. I'll see you on the 28th, so we'll be able to say Happy New Year's by then. Please be safe. Please don't go out if it's not necessary. Please take the necessary precautions for your loved ones, for your family, for your parents, for your husbands, your wives, your children. Okay. Um, I hope you have great Christmas, and I will see you soon. If there are no questions, please, I'm going to see if there are any more questions here in Facebook or in Zoom. And if not, then again, I will see you soon. Here are my here are my here is my personal information. You can contact me through my personal email, or send me a WhatsApp message for, let's say, for any doubts that you might have, or contact me through my LinkedIn username. I will gladly help you and continue helping you whatever English topic you might need. Okay. Merry Christmas to all. Best wishes, and see you soon. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Yohara. Thank you, Melissa, for your participation. Be safe and God bless. Thank you very much. Bye bye.